What's up everybody, welcome back to the garage. Today we're working on the RX-8 again, finishing up the transmission mount and the steering rack mount. And so I'll go over those with you here. Generally just did some cleanup, but so today we have the engine mounted. I got the engine mounts. Originally I had welded them with my MIG welder, but the material I was using was actually way too big for the MIG welder. So I went back and ground them down and went over them with the stick welder. Looking pretty good now. So we got plenty of clearance. We got the transmission mounted back there. Look at that dipstick of the 4L80E, just perfect place there. Nothing really done down here yet. We got the steering rack just hanging. We got the sway bar. Probably gonna take that off just so I can mount the steering rack a little easier. Then we'll prop this up, make some plates, cover that in a sec. Coming down here, we've got the transmission just being held up. Put the PPF back in there just to see where it's gonna line up. Probably take it back out, but I think I can mount it to the back of the transmission somehow. That'll be good. But really happy with how the engine is mounted. The trans mount seems to be coming together really well. Shout out to Enigma Garage for showing us how he did his transmission mount and his steering rack mounts. You know, the trans mount's very similar to what you get from Steve at LS1 RX-8, but you know, just watching him go through it and put it all together really puts my mind like right where it needs to be in order to think through the problem. So I know small channels like his and mine, you know, there's not a lot of views or high traffic, but the people that are really trying to do the swap, it's so valuable to have that content. So thanks again. And you know, that's kind of what I'm going for here, just showing you what I'm doing. No expert by any means, but really trying to just for you guys just watching, and maybe you don't have your car yet, you don't have things taken apart yet, this should help you out. Anyway, so transmission mount looks very similar to others you've seen. Yesterday I cut this, it's actually roll cage pipe, which is really thick, which I'm a fan of. I cut it to length, and I just tacked on with my MIG welder. And so that fits really nicely under the car, and the plan is something like this, where you know, we'll weld this piece here, probably put a couple of gussets on there, find where would the transmission mount can sit, and then just as you've seen others do, kind of treat this pipe and these bolts. So these will go through the bottom of the car and bolt to this. We'll weld some nuts on there, probably on the back side. I have to kind of space it out yet to see exactly which what the clearance is, but I have a few different bolt options. So just bought a bunch of random hardware that looked to be in the range. Kind of needed some anyway, so that should be that. Then we will get to making the steering rack mounts. The steering rack mounts should look similar to what you'd get from CX Racing, possibly similar to what you'd get from LS1 RX-8. Really just depends on how it goes, and we'll see how we get on that today. Got the whole day to work on it, so that's the plan. I'll take some video and bring you along for the ride. All right, basically have the cross member done. Let's check it out. Here it is, just exactly like I've seen others do it. So we've got the crush spacers on the inside here. These will just you know, prevent it from crushing the frame rail. And drilled out, trans mount hole right here in the middle. And on mine, this is where the fuel rail and brake line is. So I cut a piece of the steel. I got all that out of there and cut a piece of steel and welded that in there. So that should be good. It's welded up solid. Let's stick it in the car and see what it looks like. All right, so there we have it bolted up, and actually the transmission is resting on it. See, that's bolted up. This side is done, and the outside there, just like the other side. So really happy with the way that turned out. This is where I did the fuel line and brake line clearance. That's just to clear those. Wasn't too big of a deal really, but you don't want to pinch those off. I think if you're using like the square tubing like others have done, that probably won't be a big deal. I would recommend maybe about 2 inch, 1.5 inch at least square. This is 2-inch round, and it works great. It's super thick, no concerns. So. Got the steering rack mount mostly done. We'll need to get some other hardware, but this side pretty much is legit. You can see there's no clearance issue with the actual steering shaft. This one's bolted up. This one actually sticks out a little bit farther. The back of this is different than the back of this side, and so that's why the bolt is on there backwards, but generally that's the idea. That bolt's actually too small, so I just need a bigger one that's a little bit longer. So got plenty of clearance there, so that's about where she's gonna live. Pretty confident in that. Here we are, it's another day in the garage, and today I'm going to investigate keeping the PPF, or the power plant frame. Some call it the torsion bar. Basically, this end goes to the differential, and some of the kits, like the LS1 RX-8 kit, you have a different type of support for the differential. And so this would normally connect the transmission to the differential, and we're actually going to do that by making a brace that attaches these 2 points to the 4L80E transmission. And you can look at CX Racing, they have a bracket you can buy for a T56. It looked like it actually might work for the 4L80E, but I'm not going to buy it because it's $350. I'd rather just spend the morning tacking some metal together and see if that will do the job. So that's what I'm going to do right now. It's basically just going to be one piece of steel here to this side, one piece to this side, and then we'll have something to connect them going this way, and then another one going this way to bolt directly to the back of the transmission. And so where the transmission mounts, there's like a rubber mount, so where the mount bolts onto the transmission, we will just mount this above the mount. That way the rubber is actually still allowing the vibration, shock resistance. You know, shouldn't really change anything in that department. So that's what I'm going to do today. Next time on Easy on Cars, we'll get into assembling the engine, and then eventually we'll get into wiring. Take it easy, easy on cars.